works performance, field service, management. Is that what you're here for? You're wrong place, right place? How many folks represent utilities here? Hands up high? All right, all of you. How many folks are contemplating transforming their workforce at some point in the next 5 years? All right, show of hands, side head turn. All right, so we're gonna share a little bit of who we are, and we're gonna share a story of one of our most amazing customers, which you'll hear about in a little bit. We tout ourselves as a trusted digital partner for mission critical operations in a linear complex assets space. It's a mouthful to say. Basically, all of you folks, since you raised your hands, I know you're in utility, so I know you're dealing with things that are essential to life, property, safety, critical aspects of how we live our lives here. That's where we've chosen to live our lives as well as an FSM or FWM organization. I came, as well as a lot of my colleagues came, from very, very large names that are probably not as well, or more well known rather than OverIT. Those folks specialized in all things FSM. If you were a service crew going out, fixing it, repairing it, they covered all of that. We concentrated our efforts on the utility space because of the critical need to get it right. So we're going to talk about that today, all right? My little clicker here. So a few things are happening, obviously, that I don't have to tell you about, but certainly there's a bunch of critical things in the space of utilities that you guys are faced with. There's obviously all kinds of different things going on with wildfires. There's things going on with the grid, obviously taxing the grid. A bunch of different changes now going on with grid modernization. There's a high demand on what the aspects of the users want. They want the Uber-like experience. They want their whole new technology in their own hands. The old days of waiting and wondering and having big windows and not knowing what's going to happen, when they're going to come, when they're going to ride, those days are gone. They also have higher electrical demands, EVs. Storms are a huge issue. I think what we've had since 2000, a 64% increase in the number of critical storms that have knocked out power. About 80% of outages now are all related to storms worldwide. So it's a huge, massive issue that we're trying to get our arms around. And part of this is how well you're maintaining those assets and how well you're responding to some of those as well. There we go. Okay, so if you can you slide that over a little bit? Yeah, it's easier for me to read it here as well, too. I'll get a point to it. So the FSM core principles for our solution is really built on a few things that we think has to be aligned for that mission critical organization. The first one, it has to be focused on the mission critical assets, those linear assets. We call them linear, but they can be fixed as well. Complex assets that serve the linear lines, pipelines, etc. for those organizations. GIS is at our core, so the map and where those assets are and how to maintain them is absolutely essential. On-prem and cloud for two reasons. One for security, and the other one could be for capitalization. How folks want to be able to pay off, or at least acquire this technology. We left ourselves very, very flexible in being able to have one or the other. Most, of course, are going with SaaS solution. Field-centric UX. Field-centric UX is critical. As you hear from our guest today, that was essential for those users to get the feel of what they're going to be adopting. Adoption rate has got to be high if you're going to embark upon this kind of transformation. That means we have to concentrate on what the field users, what the folks in the field, dispatch, etc. are utilizing so that they have the maximum adoption. And then, of course, safety compliance. A lot of our clients, and more of them in the pipeline right now, are actually in the California area. And if we happen to be in the West Coast, compliance is to the, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. That's the way it is. We're finding a lot of our customers, no matter where they are finding the need to have to take care of environmental issues, compliance in terms of safety for the workers themselves, and the list goes on and on. So being able to integrate that into our solution is absolutely key. How we build it for continuity is another aspect of being mission critical ready, right? So it has to be scalable, it has to be large. We'll point to some of our logos here in a minute, but we have some customers individually that have 20, 25,000 technicians in the field over a multitude of countries. We have some that are 7,000, 10,000. So scaling is not a problem for us. And we also start out with a lot of clients that are 200, 350, 400. So it doesn't have to be just the large customers, but the point of the matter is we have that ability to scale. We can do it quickly and with no compromise to the operations itself. The upgrades at your pace, we're a single tenancy operation, so that means you upgrade when you want to upgrade, not when we tell you to. If there's a critical issue going on in your organization, a fire at the time, an emergency, or you're seeing some kind of challenges with some other software that needs to take priority, big ERP you're launching, it may not be the right time to upgrade or update the solution. So we give you that hand with that steering wheel and let you drive that when you think it's right. A lot of our competitors don't do that, and they felt the consequences of having an update during a critical point in your organization. Fully offline, that was a no-brainer. If you're sitting in this room, you've got folks in the field, they absolutely need to be offline, the maps need to be offline, and they need to be able to operate when and where they need to. That critical information needs to be updated as quickly as possible. Cybersecurity goes without saying. Back to if you're in this room, you're a target. Everybody knows that. Water, electric, folks are hunting for you. We know that. We have to be on top of it to make sure that nothing is compromised in your organization. And then the other part about this, which you hear about today in a great story with our friends at Chelan, you have to be configurable and flexible. So that's part of, I think, what gives OverIT the big advantage as well. So one platform that's configurable for all the divisions and verticals within your organization. Freshwater, wastewater, fiber, construction, it doesn't matter what it is. The data moves across all of it together for the benefit of the organization, but at the same time now, and it also has some benefits as well for folks that move from organization to organization within the company. Now they're utilizing the same software, so there's some familiarity with it. But when they get it in their hands and we leave, and we work together with you to do that, they have something that fits within their own organization, right? If it's fresh water, it's design, buttons, and whatever they need to be comfortable so that they can utilize that in an appropriate way. And built with you means that the way to ensure that we have zero churn, this is important, and this is one that I challenge our competitors. Zero churn, 25 years in the business, zero churn in utilities, not a single one. The way that happens is, why does anyone churn? Why does anyone change an FSM solution? I hinted that I was with a very large FSM provider earlier, and we had churn. That was kind of what they regarded as the natural course of business. What we do is we put this in your hands along with us, and it's built by utilities for utilities. So we're very, very mindful that we have to bring you into the fray to make sure that you're helping us drive the next innovations, the next enhancements, that you're part of the customer advisory board when we need to sit down and say, what is a priority now? Is it batch management? Is it this? Is it that? What are the things we need to enhance about scheduling or routing? So you get a say in these things. 60% of our updates that happen 3 times a year, more than 60%, are driven by our utility customers. SDG&E, it could be anyone, Chelan. These folks put their hands in to make sure that they're driving the next thing that they need. And we make sure that when that happens, it's available to all. Even though it's single tenancy, everybody gets the benefit of that upgrade quickly. That co-innovation piece is something that we also do individually. So it's a little different from the customer advisory board and enhancements. The co-innovation aspect of it is sitting down with a customer, like our customer you'll meet today, and say, look, here's my 5-year plan. If I want to do some creative innovation and things that I think are going to benefit our organization, let's look at this together. And this is truly where we talk about a partnership. Everybody uses that term very, very loosely. But this is truly a partnership where our folks sit down, get involved, and say, what are we doing on this roadmap for you, for ourselves? Where do you think it has to go? How do we need to flex the product? The one thing that's unique about our organization is we're the folks that build it. And the team that builds it, the organizational level at the CEOs, it's an important point. He came from Salesforce, and he was the one that actually acquired Click, pulled it all in, and built the FSM structure at Salesforce. He left after a while, when I think he was looking for to pursue something that was much more focused on utilities only, landed with us about 3 or 4 years ago, or 4 years ago now, and is now fully dedicated to making this the best worldwide global operation for FSM for all the utilities. And those three last in the column there, the customer innovation, are absolutely something that's driven into our DNA. Okay? The challenge is, if we're going to make it simple, how do you do that in a complex world? We just talked about all the divisions, configurability, security. You know it's going to have as we go through some scheduling, routing, mapping, all those things. But then the idea is to keep it simple so people will utilize it. You treat it as a single pane of glass, if you will, so they don't swivel chair and move you around from one application to another. We're mindful that it's not only the customer experience at the end, but the user experience that are wearing the hard hats riding around the truck each day as well. How do they feel about the product? Are they embracing it? Is it easier for them to get through the day with 2 or 3 more calls with clarity and with shared data, right? So the key is trying to create this complexity is probably one of the hardest things, and certainly Steve Jobs had his work cut out for him when he created Apple and created a computer. He looked at all the things and said, look, let's take this apart, get to the essential pieces, cut off the rest that's not needed, and try our best is to make something that people intuitively utilize. We're super proud to say that about 90% in the early stage, 90% of the employees of all our utilities are adopting the product very, very early on in the stage. It doesn't often happen. We tend to see a ramp up that's much slower, right? 50%, second year you see 75, et cetera, et cetera. We're seeing 90, 95%. We'll talk about that as well with Chelan. So our platform is made out of 3 components. The first component is Next Gen FSM. The first module of that is the FSM is the asset maintenance piece. Knowing where the assets are, knowing that they're aging and they need to be repaired, mapping them correctly, using the correct algorithms to understand what the maintenance schedule is. That's probably the most critical piece itself. But once it's mapped, now you've got to understand how to basically address it, right? Who are the right people that are going to be able to work on the solution itself? Right? How are you going to schedule them? How are you going to get them into the capacity planning and figuring out when these assets are taken care of throughout the entire year? How do you ensure that when you're scheduling that, then you're timing it with area maintenance that is being done in the area so you're not crisscrossing folks left and right? That's probably one of the biggest deficiencies we see in our product when we do an ROI. We put it down there and run some hypotheticals very, very conservatively and say your biggest return, 30% on this investment, is going to be less truck rolls done right, first time, and certainly not Chris passing John every day when he could have probably taken care of it in a scheduled maintenance when it wasn't an emergency. The prioritization and all that, certainly good factors that allow you to run a smooth operation, but in the regular course of that asset maintenance, that's key. The other piece is that the technicians have to have the right parts. They have to have the right trunk stock. They have to have the right tools. So part of that is the system has to be able to maintain what is John carrying, where is he going, does he have the right tools, and when it's scheduling and re-optimizing throughout the day, are we sure that that person has the right certifications to work on that particular asset, has the right tools, the right parts to get it done? The system is intelligent enough and gets more intelligent about all of the workers as well to continue to enhance who does what work, how fast, who are the best teams to send. The algorithms just continue through machine learning faster and faster, doing it much more with much more precision. The second part is the field collaboration component. The collaboration component, this is where we get to address what's happening in the workforce around aging personnel, folks that are churning out, retiring, and it's getting harder and harder to find individuals to work in field service. We find that a lot of utilities are utilizing those folks in a retirement capacity to be virtual advisors. So now you can imagine having someone out in the field holding up a laptop. I think we have stuff to show at our booth, right? 6332. Come and see us. That hall right here, right in that direction. You can see the solutions that allow you to be able to look at an asset, understand what's behind it, have somebody remotely helping you address that asset. It might be complex, might be something you've never seen before. But imagine now that retired worker, instead of retiring fully, now is able to transition to a different life, working at home, helping a newbie, right? Somebody who just started trying to understand, yes, this is called the R130, this is how we do it. So really cool application of it. We're finding more and more that you're able to get through the solutions, get through the repairs and the maintenance much faster as well, even if you have somebody back in the office or at home. Then the last part of it is Next Gen Geo, and that's a solution that sits on top of Esri. So it's not a replacement of Esri, it's a critical component of it. It really makes much more use of the data itself, the complexity of the data. And the key there is we want to obviously be able to do more with Esri. We're going to be partnering with them to try to tighten up what that solution looks like. But the objective here is Esri is now 80% in most utilities. We'll address any GIS that's out there, but certainly as Esri is the leader and that's 80% of most utilities are going there, we want to be able to partner with them. Our solution is going to be able to enhance how you work in the GIS space. So. Our solutions are just real quick, 200 plus customers all over the world. We started as a European company 25 years ago, still zero churn. Have about 11 major customers now in the pipeline for US, SDG&E, Sempra, SoCal Gas. I can't name some that will be announced in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which are really exciting. But a lot of these customers are 2 million plus residences and businesses. So some of them are 10,000 technicians, 8,000 technicians in the field, quite sizable. The majority of our customers, as I mentioned, about 80% of them are utility focused as well. It's obviously catching the notice of the analysts, IDC, Gartner. They've placed us in the top upper right quadrant for not only innovation, but the product capability to execute. So we're super excited about that, looking for the next report to come out as well. That's what's driving a lot of our business, by the way. A lot of folks go to IDC and Gartner and say, who do we choose if we're going to make this transformation? We know because we always ask them. And they said, we were told to come and talk to you. You guys are very utility focused. And as you hear from our guest today, he took that with a grain of salt and certainly reached out to our customers, at least 4 of them, and went through in-depth interviews, as you should, to say what's that experience like from the beginning to the end. We implement our own solution. Very, very, very rare. So we're the guys who build it. We're the guys who contract with you guys. Once we sell it, our team deploys, and we're there for the life. 5 years later, our team is still there working with you. The SI component we may integrate may be for testing or may be for other aspects of it, but our team is not leaving there. We don't turn this over, as others do, to a hope and a prayer that an SI is going to understand what our agreements were through the months and months of conversation. If you've been through this process before, if you haven't, I encourage you to talk to me afterwards, and we can take you a little bit through that. It's a complex acquisition, and you should treat it very, very seriously. None of those run less than 9 months. Almost all of them from the beginning of, we have an idea to do something to the end up going sometimes 12, 16, 18 months. And in that process, that's critical to take that information that we learned together and now step over into the implementation side and maintain and keep that for the promises, for the complexities, for the things we learned of the departments. If we don't do that, imagine the loss in that information to an SI when we drop it in the lap and say, just go away from it. This doesn't work for us. That's why the satisfaction's got to be high, 100%. That's the critical feedback we get from all of our customers. These guys don't go away. There's always going to be bumps. Always. It's software. But at the end of the day, we sit at that table and we don't get off until they're resolved. So we talk a lot about vital systems and critical assets and all that, but I think one of the other things that's important is how our solution is utilized in other parts of what we feel culturally are really important. From a humanitarian standpoint, sustainability, the solution itself, if you're not rolling trucks, you're not burning gas, you're not burning oil, you're not burning tires, you're not tearing up the roadways, and there's more aspects of it as well. But the idea there is let's help our customers with the sustainability targets that they have, Well, at the same time, we're also doing well for the world we live in. We donated our solution to the Red Cross in Europe, doing the same here with other organizations we're choosing in North America. And the idea is this solution can be powerful in time of war, in time of humanitarian aid, in time of distribution of food. And we think that's a critical point where if we're the asset owners and the software owners, how can others benefit from this as well, right? In a way that doesn't necessarily bring profit, but brings a better place for you and I to live. So I promised you a story. I'm excited to present one of our best customers, certainly not our biggest, but my favorite. And with that, I'll give you a little bit of preview of who they are.
With great power comes great responsibility. And here in Chelan County, we take these words to heart. Each one of us, the orchards growing the crop to feed the world, the electrician running a living room, the doctor offering life-saving treatment. The tools are different. All share something. A local history of bootstrapping. We stand on the shoulders of innovators, men and women who share a vision for affordable power. Men who won hard-fought battles in Olympia and Washington, D.C. These leaders risked everything on hydropower. And their investment paid off. And today, we are responsible to build on their legacy. We are responsible to serve the residents of Chelan County, the people who own these certificates. We serve with dedication and grit. The line whose phone stays on, so our power does too. The fiber optic tech who connects us to the world. The mechanic whose oil-stained hands keep the turbines spinning. We haven't stopped pioneering, and we will never forget our founding mission. A commitment to make electricity affordable for everyone. That's where it all started. We intend to keep it that way.
Now, grab me a we talked about it initially when we got started with the organization. We heard that it wasn't one of the largest. We were excited to do it, but once we got there, blew us away, so much so that our CEO, Paolo Bergamo, decided he needed to take a trip, came back and couldn't stop raving about what he saw. What's going on up there in Wenatchee in Chelan County? Tell me about the organization.
Yeah, so I think we saw from the video, we saw, we're a 90-year-old company. Our mission really is that essentially we're just delivering up water, fiber optics, electric distribution. But we're challenging a lot of ways. We saw with all the different divisions we have and all the different areas that we have to do. There's a lot of people in our company that are working in the field, working in different areas of the field, within the generation, within the distribution side. And we also saw that those original founders decided from the orchards that we need to do electricity ourselves because the islands were coming 100 years ago, and then making that leap to say, no, we need to be innovative, we need to build those hydropowers, and that has paid off, and that really is the culture that we have in our organization, is that we are looking for ways to always improve, always get better, and always do whatever it takes to really provide that service to our customers.
It's amazing. I did some comparison because when I heard your rate for kilowatt was, put it this way, we're in South Florida, we're 18 cents, 16 cents. I think parts of California are 39 cents. 39 cents. How much are you guys a kilowatt?
3.2 cents.
3.2 cents. Wow.
And the reason we do that is, again, that innovation, we have about 300 nameplate megawatt generation. And if you guys don't know that, it serves about 1.7, 1.8 million meters across in the Pacific Northwest. We only use about 10 to 20% of that power. Our peak load is only 560 megawatts, and that just came in last year. So that means There's a lot of extra generation that we can actually sell this clean, renewable, carbon-free power. That actually goes back to the community, and it's not just bringing those units on the 3.2, it's giving them parts, it's giving them fiber optics, and again, back to innovation. Also, because we're trying to do a lot for a lot of different organizations and people in the community, it makes us complex.
Yeah, so I teased a little bit about how unique it was when we went there, so we thought we were just going to go see a transmission, distribution, kind of the typical. We come there, we see these amazing parks, we see salmon fish ladders, we see this crazy amount of investment you guys have made in fiber, and I think even fiber optic reduced a lot of cost for the community as well too, so a lot of these investments you're pulling back. You've got quite a few divisions. What are those divisions? You've got
generation and transmission, 2 divisions. We have our electrical distribution, our fiber optics, water, wastewater. And then, of course, because of the FERC licensing on the hydro, we actually have parts and we have fish modeling for that. A lot of people in the field, and that's exactly what we're here for today.
So, you're busy enough. You came into the job about 4 years ago, I think, right? 3 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
So why take on this transformation now? It's a complex, it's not only us. You're doing a lot of other things in the organization, but why now? What's critical about that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that first off, I think our customers' expectations have changed. Our customers are no longer the ones just accepting that it's okay to have power on, but we wanted to interact with you. We wanted to keep those rates low. We wanted to have that clean, sustainable energy. Those changes have driven us that for us to be able to support those needs, we need to be ready for that. We need to be modernized. We need to be in a place that we can support at the edge our customers and our field crew. And it's not just our customers. The new people coming into the organization, the younger people, that's their expectation too. They're expecting to have technology in their hands that are get to work to make the decisions where they are, when they need to, and so they make those quick decisions. And that's a change. It's not just data in the back anymore. It's data at the edge. It's data where you are, when you are, and whether that's online or offline, you need that accuracy.
So the workload is huge, and I've seen you throughout the days. You bounce from one meeting to another, and obviously a lot of different things you're dealing with. Obviously, some cool, innovative stuff. I might tease you with that a little later, see if there's something you can share. But there are going to be some first. If you folks haven't been paying attention to Chelan, I promise you, look at the news, try to follow them as much as you can. They're going to do some absolute world's first, not even in North America, world's first. So I'm not going to tell the details, but super exciting stuff that's going to have us there, but it's going to have the world press there as well. Pretty amazing stuff. So now what's next in the whole transformation schedule? I mean, I know we're a part of this now, and deep in it. What's next for you?
Yeah, so this is just one of our major transformations in the field. We also are looking to move all our tier 1 applications to the cloud. We're looking to actually start investing in private cloud, and whether that authentication and data at the edge. Of course, everybody's talking about AI. AI is here, but there's a long way to go, but being prepared for it and knowing how data can move and support that AI, that's really part of the transformation as well.
So I think one of the things that is interesting, you guys have probably some big challenges going on in the organization and going through part of these challenges you've had. You're adopting new things. You can go to the next slide too as well, please, guys. Thank you. And you've also got some utility experience, some important things that close right after. As you were selecting the vendor, you were trying to be critical about us and who we were as a vendor. And I remember you put us through a tight scrutiny. It was interesting. We thought this thing was going to be, you were buying world power, but you put us through, I think, 5 or 6 references, review. You even did something very, very creative where you brought in your own teams and you said, I want you to equip them with some mobile devices and I want you to put it in their hands and do some use cases. But why was all that so important to you, and why OverIT? So what was the whole premise of that?
So I think we go back to our divisions, and the idea as a chief technology officer, my goal there is to reduce our stack, simplify our systems, make it frictionless for our users. And the technology should be frictionless. It shouldn't be something we're struggling with. In addition to that technology stack and technical debt, we need to be able to have one system for our field operators, regardless of what division they're in, regardless of where they are and how they're working. And it needs to work, we need to make it simple, and I guess simple is complex. And that's what we're sort of talking about with team jobs. And we want to make sure that this company had the ability to have that frictionless, have that simple environment that we can spread out without actually giving an app for every different application or every different service capability and service fee that we have. It had to have something that can accomplish all this stuff, whether it had an app or without an app. So there are fields of intergeneration, different processes, different work. We can't do the same thing in the same way and really reduce the amount of effort. And it goes back to our users. We don't want them using up 10, 15 different applications to do all the service work. We want to see if we can do it with one application. And what we're trying to do is, can you guys meet that challenge?
And this is not your first go-around with FSM, no?
Now, this is my fifth implementation. So I've been implementing the workforce management, resource management since the 90s. It's my fifth implementation of this process.
What's amazing about that is, for the size of the organization, it's much smaller than some of the very large customers we use. I don't think we have anybody in the C-suite place of any customer that has seen 2 or 3 or 4 implementations of FSM. So he truly has seen it all. And I think that's what really had you challenge us, because we thought we were going to end up, and I hinted earlier that sometimes these processes can take months, sometimes a year, 2 years. I remember that we thought we were close to the final and being decided on whether we would beat some of the other vendors that are here today. And you said, no, not so fast. You brought your crew in. It lasted a little longer yet. What did that reveal about that experiment when you put those mobile devices in their hands, and what did that produce for you? And as a net result, what do you see on the adoption rate?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, the technology, the chief technology officer, it's not my decision to make the technology. It's the decision of the users. You really need to say, is this going to work for me? This is the tool that allows me to get to where I need to go and make the decisions I need to make in the day work that I do. I'm looking at the larger strategy and the highest level, but it's the people that are doing the edge of the work and doing the work that really need to understand. So while we thought we had a good idea where we wanted to go, I really wanted to put it back in their hands and says, you need to put this to the washer. You really need to understand that if you're going to use this is the tool you're going to use for the next 5, 10 years. And is it the product you're going to work? And so they went hands-on over with your staff and the other vendors, and they came back unanimously that this is the tool that seems to be the simplest and easiest to use for our organization. And that was a big thing for me, because it actually did change our decision at the end of the day where we were going.
Now, I recall we were on the edge, and you said that's what tipped it over. Right now, the adoption rate was, you may have said that over.
So it's 90 to 95%.
95% of your users are already adopting it. It's amazing. Excellent. What's next, and what are you trying to get to? I mean, ultimately, when you measure the success of this project and you look at it, you had some KPIs that you went in earlier. What does that look like for you in the future here? You're gonna deem this project a success if what?
Yeah,
how are you looking at that?
So I know that we're all looking at KPIs and how fast we can get work gets out, how fast we can close them, how many we can do in a day, how we can optimize those routes. I mean, those are all good KPIs. But for me, as a CTO and as our company, customer first. And so I always think about how am I going to feel as a utility customer. I always think about utilities that are serving me and how best they can serve me better. And this idea of this real-life experience, I don't want to be called like, hey, I'll be there 8 to 5 and I'll show up, and by the way, you're going to have to wait for me to take a paid leave just so I can get your meter fixed. I'd like to have that ability where I can actually make a call to my utility with a problem and know that we're going to be there in 15 minutes and not give me that block. So I can go to work, I can then schedule my time to come home when they're going to be there. I'm also feel safe I know who that person is. I can see what the vehicle and the license is. I can feel and trust them. I can come into my home. And those are the type of things I think as a utility, and that's the next stage of utilities, is how do we make the lives of our customers easier to interact with us, more efficient in our communication and transparency, and feeling safe that we're going to be working in and out of their own properties.
That's excellent. I wanted to ask you one last question before we close this out. A lot of these folks raise their hands in the utility, from the utility industry. What advice would you have for them now, looking not only in your previous 4, but this being the 5th, if my number count is right? What advice would you give them if they're going to embark upon such a transformation around FSM, FWM?
So I think the big biggest thing really is that there's a lot of vendors out there. There are a lot of things that say we can do this, we can feel worthless. Think about the user, think about their experience. And again, my big thing is I don't want to be a user that has to open up 15 different applications and do different tasks in the work. This is one of the reasons where we look for something that, nothing even here, we can just be clear about that. But if we do most 85%, 90% of what we're trying to do, that can really help with the simplicity. I think the other side is this clean core idea, not trying to customize, not trying to make a product fit the processes, but then we have to fit the processes to fit the product. That's changed. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were changing products to fit processes. We're recognizing the difficulty and the fast to get new innovation and new ideas. And AI is a perfect example. 2 years ago, we didn't know what it was. Now everybody's all over it. But we have so much customizations in our systems, we can't get the products to the level that vendors can provide to support AI, and then we're missing out. So those are the two things I would focus on.
It's amazing. So I wanted to thank you, first of all, for not only being here today, but agreeing to be on our customer advisory board. We have 12 members of that board, 12 spots rather, and as we grow here in North America, we certainly want to add a couple more of those, but we're honored to have you as a part of our global advisory board, shaping the future of our product for your customers and for all your colleagues here in the audience and abroad as well, too. So thank you again for an amazing partnership. We're not going anywhere, as I spoke about, for the next few years. We've already had our few little bumps, but at the same time, we're still at the table and now still trying to work some of the things through that were unexpected, the inevitable that happens. Thanks again for your patience, your partnership, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, René. I appreciate that. I just want to say that is the biggest thing in partnership. No matter what, you're going to have messy work through these things. And if you have a vendor that can work with stand side by side through the messy, that's what's going to make success, I think.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, appreciate it.